Coming up on this week's edition of AU Hoop Talk with Coach Brennan, presented by Launchbox Golf, we'll talk about the Eagles' prowess from beyond the arc. Jamir Harris joins the discussion, and we'll look ahead to the Eagles game at home against the Howard Bison. It all starts right now. Welcome into the show, Dan Lang alongside Coach Brennan. And Coach, you've had, 10 days off between games, between the St. Francis game and now gearing up for the game against Howard. What have you been doing? What have you been working on?
Well, to be honest, just getting a couple things, getting comfortable and getting healthy again. I've had some guys, just minor injuries here and there. So just trying to get as many bodies back as we can. So giving the guys some needed rest, I would say, because they've been working really hard. And then just getting some of the newer guys like Jamir and Connor just comfortable with, with our offense and with where sort of their shots are coming from, what we're doing defensively. They've all been working really hard and doing great. This is sort of gets us to sort of go over the stuff that we already have in and just sort of solidify everything and get the guys as comfortable as possible with what we have in already.
So is it a good point in the season to have a 10-day break when you're, 4 games or so into the season? You have 10 days off to, as you said, kind of mix in a little rest, but also maybe a little bit more into what you guys are trying to accomplish on the floor?
Yeah, no, it seems like it's a good time right now, but I mean, throughout the season, you could always use a 10-day rest. But it's the injuries are always random. But it's good. Other guys have stepped up. Other guys have gotten a lot of minutes. So it's good from that standpoint. But hopefully we can get back to where we have a full healthy team and we're sort of clicking.
Now you've said that you really like this crew, and one of the things that's pretty cool about it is that it seems like this team really has a lot of stick-to-itiveness. Even when it seems like they're down in a game, they're not, and they fight back into it. You look at the St. Francis game, down by as many as 9. Unfortunately, didn't pick up the W, but only ended up losing by 3. What do you see out of this team as far as that component goes?
Yeah, well, I mean, pretty much every game they've done that. Even the Siena game, we were getting cracked, and they fought, they worked themselves, back into the game. Not having Saeed and Marvin, I thought they did a good job even in that game. William and Mary, I mean, we got down, we came back, a couple times in that game. GW was the same. There's a couple lead changes. So I see fight and resolve and competitiveness from this group. And they took control of the St. Francis game too. I mean, we're up 6, 2.5 minutes. We were in a real good spot to win the game, and we got good looks on offense. We just didn't knock them down, and they happened to knock down some tough shots. So, we're up 1 with 3 seconds to go. You can only do so much. We put ourselves in a good position. We just got to, close it out next time.
When you look at that part of this team, are there any specific guys that you attribute that to, or is it just as a whole, this team is a cohesive unit that just plays together and everybody's pulling for everybody?
Yeah, well, obviously Saeed being around, he's always been this way. But I think we just have more weapons, just on the perimeter more, and Jacob's a lot more confident this year. So guys are just giving us more. I expect that to continue by the way that they've been working.
One of the other big positives for you guys here early on this season, sticking the threes. You guys are in the top 15% or so, 10-15% of the NCAA as far as percentage-wise of made threes, 40% or so. That's pretty impressive for you guys. What do you attribute that to?
Well, we got guys that can shoot one. I mean, we got guys that can knock down shots, but I think the unselfishness of the play, has given us a lot of good looks. So as long as we take good shots, I think we have a good enough offensive team where we should get a good shot every single time down court. So it's not just Jamir and Jacob and Connor, Saeed's making threes. It's all the willingness to pass the ball and to get the guys' shots. I mean, that's the first time Saeed was able to sort of step in and shoot some easy threes because other people are making plays, and now he's the recipient of that.
When you talk about Jamir, and again early early on, small sample size, but what he seems to be bringing to this team, even especially from the three-point range. I mean, he'll hit some from even an NBA range three, and he seems to hit a bunch of different looks of three. It's not like he has one specific thing. What is he bringing here early on this season?
Yeah, well, I think, I mean, obviously we knew about the three-point shooting.
Sure.
The thing that's impressing me the most is how quickly he's getting better at other things, involved in the game. So he's getting to the rim, sort of knowing when to drive, when to kick it. His passing has gotten a ton better. So, just in this small little sample size, the amount of progress that he and all the other guys on the team have made gives me a lot of hope for just us being able to get better as we progress throughout the season.
And from a personality component, he seems to have that big smile and seems to be a guy that kind of has other guys gravitate towards.
Yeah, no, every day he brings it. I mean, ton of energy, regardless of whether we've just played a game or we've been off for a day or we've been practicing for 3 straight days. He's always there. He's always bringing it, and I mean the guys have followed his lead.
What does that mean from a coaching perspective to have maybe not just him, but a guy like a Saeed on the team as well that have that component of that? What does that sort of say to you as a coach, having those type of guys, and then as it kind of goes out to the other guys on the team?
Yeah, I mean one thing we've been missing, and I give a guy like Saeed a lot of credit. He's had to grow, without seeing anybody sort of ahead of him and older guys. He's had to sort of learn on the fly, learn through experience, learn in the games. Mm-hmm. So now all of our younger guys are learning from Saeed, watching him as an older player now. Well, it's the same from Jamir. I mean, just the fact that he goes hard through practices every single day. We have guys in our program that can look to older guys now, and it's not just the coaches saying, hey, you got to play harder, and it's, games are difficult. They can see that it's possible. That it's easy, just to go through a hard practice on a daily basis. So it's great to have those two sort of leading the way.
Time for our first time out here on AU Hoop Talk with Coach Brennan, presented by Launchbox Golf. As we continue, we'll talk with Jamir Harris. He'll join the conversation next. Welcome back to AU Hoop Talk with Coach Brennan, presented by Launchbox Golf. We're now joined by Jamir Harris. Thanks for taking some time.
Definitely, I'm glad to be here.
So why AU? You transferred to American from Minnesota, sat out last year, but why American University?
I just felt like the perfect fit. Coming here on the visit, being familiar with guys like Saeed Nelson and Coach Brennan, being from New Jersey, it kind of gave me that initial push to want to come on the visit. And once I got here, I kind of just fell in love with the team chemistry, that it just seemed so natural, and I wanted to be a part of it, and I knew that was the best place for me was here.
Talk about your relationship with Coach Brennan. You say that you knew about him before actually making a 100% choice here. Talk about your relationship with him.
Well, my relationship with him is it's a very good relationship. Him and my dad went to school together in high school, so my dad was familiar with him, and naturally my father's familiar with somebody, then I kind of give him a little bit easier route to trust him.
Yeah.
So being with him this past year off the court, not playing, and now it's like our relationship is just growing and growing day by day. So I'm definitely glad to be here playing for him.
And with Saeed, you've known Saeed since you guys were kids, since you guys were just little guys bouncing the ball around, right?
Definitely. We played with each other since we were 8, 9 years old. Even at that young of an age, we were sleeping over each other's house during AU trips and stuff like that, and AU tournaments. So me and his relationship have grown since then. We've known each other, played play with each other on the court and our chemistry, even though we had a few years where we didn't play together. But starting at that young of an age, kind of resurfacing now together, it's just like something special.
What is it about Saeed and you that kind of makes that chemistry so special? What do you guys have so much in common?
I think we just have a lot of the same instincts, and on top of that, we kind of have the same mindset as far as the game is concerned. Like, we're all about winning. He's all about winning. I'm all about winning. And our games kind of complement each other. He's a guy that, primarily can get to the rim and can shoot a mid-range pull-up, and I'm a guy that, can finish around the rim, but I really primarily can shoot the ball from around the perimeter, whether that's bouncing off the catch. So, he can make my life easier, get me shots, and I can make his life easier, get him open shots as well. So we just complement each other real well. And on the defensive end, talking to each other and communicating is really easy for us because of our relationship off the court. So on the court, it just makes it that much easier to communicate and get the job done.
Now, you've talked about your relationship with him as far as basketball goes. What do you guys talk about outside of basketball? Are there things that you guys have in common off the court as far as outside of basketball?
We talk about a lot of stuff. Music. Music is like a big thing we talk about a lot that we kind of like have in common. There's other things that we don't really have in common, but we always talk about, like different foods and what's good to eat, what's not good to eat, what's healthy for you, what's not healthy for you. Like, Saeed's a big guy on eating healthy and cooking food and things of that nature. And me, I'm kind of like the other side of things. I'll just eat whatever I feel like I like, and I'm not really I don't have a large taste palette or anything like that. I kind of just stick to the basics and keep it pushing, but he tries to broaden my horizons a little bit, so it's a good thing.
So you say Saeed likes to cook. So does he have a special dish that he likes? Anything that he makes that you're like, hey, that's good? Or do you ask him to make, hey man, that was good the other night, can we do that again next week or whatever?
He makes a variety of things. Like he'll make like shrimp and chicken Alfredo. He'll make pasta with vodka sauce. Like anything he really cooks is usually good, so I just can't wait for him to cook, and I enjoy it. So he definitely helped broaden my taste palette a little bit just by cooking, a few nights a week. So
now you say you guys also talk about music, and I know you like to. One of your hobbies is rapping a little bit. Is that what you guys like to talk about? Who are some of your favorite artists?
Some of my favorite artists. I really like Drake. He's always been my favorite artist since I was young. I like Meek Mill. That's Saeed's favorite artist, by the way. He likes Meek Mill. J. Cole, just with his lyrics and the way he tries to have a message sent through his words. I kind of respect his rapping a lot. There's countless amounts of artists that I really like and listen to often, so I can't really say like a top 5 that are my favorite. There's too many of them.
So at what age did you start your hobby of rapping? Like at what time did you think like, oh, this would be kind of cool, and started like, oh, I might actually kind of be kind of good at this?
Yeah, to be honest, it was like a few months ago. Like I started making, just like writing songs down as a hobby a few months ago, and that's when I really started to take it serious. Before that, it was just writing poems down and making words rhyme, and then reading it back and seeing how it sounds once I read it back. And I thought to myself, I was like, I can make this into a song. So I just started doing it a few months ago, and I really enjoy it. So I'm gonna make sure I keep doing that.
Now you transferred, as we talked about, you transferred in from Minnesota, had to sit out last season. How tough was that for you to have to sit out and watch your teammates out there playing, but you couldn't be a part of it, a piece to it?
It was very tough, especially early on. Through the first month of the season, just not being used to not being out there on the court competing. That was rough. But as time went along, I just accepted the new role that I had, which was not being able to play. Being a leader on the bench. Talking to guys and motivating guys to do well. So I was in a new role, and I learned how to adapt to that role. And it just made me that more eager to get on the court this year and to be out there with my guys and to help us get victories. So.
What's the biggest difference that you've noticed so far here, obviously, last season and then the small sample size this year, as far as from Minnesota, from a Big Ten program here to the Patriot League and AU?
To be honest, it's not that many differences as far as basketball is concerned, but the one thing that is prevalent here that I am so happy to be a part of, it's just like I said, the team chemistry, and how you can tell here that everyone genuinely cares about one another, and you can tell that on the court and off. So when we all come together to play, it's like we're playing for our brothers. And most teams say that, my brothers are out there, but it's really like a family. And if one guy falls down, we're picking them up instantly. There's no, getting caught up in the, your selfish mindset of how you're doing at the time. It's like the team is to win. We want to win games, and everybody's bought into that process from day one of the off season. And that's something I've never really felt on a team before, like as much as I felt it here. And that's just something special that a lot of teams don't have, but it's a brotherhood for sure, and I think that's going to lead to us winning a lot of close games and winning the games we know we need to win.
Now, your major here at AU, at least one of them, I think you have a couple majors, but journalism, and apparently you want to go into broadcasting. What made you sort of choose that route and that major, and who are a couple of your favorite broadcasters?
I just always wanted to, I know when I was done playing the game of basketball professionally, wherever that would be, I want to get back to the game and talk about the game, and be like Charles Barkley and Kenny Smith and Shaq and those guys talking at halftime about the game that's going on. That's what I want to do. I would have to say some of my favorite broadcasters that I look up to is like American's own David Aldridge, and I used to play 2K a lot. I still do play 2K a lot, but and he's on the halftime shows of the game. So at halftime when they're interviewing the players that scored the most points or whatever in 2K, he's the one interviewing them. So I just I could picture myself doing that, interacting with the players, because I used to be a former player at that time. So I feel like it'll be a lot of fun. So now we'll make DA. We'll put him out there. The DA's gonna have to help you out, right? Yeah, definitely. I like that. He's gonna be a guy on your resume. Well, thanks for taking some time. Appreciate it. Definitely. Jamir Harris, right there. We'll be back with more on AU Hoop Talk with Coach Brennan, presented by Launchbox Golf. Welcome back into AU Hoop Talk, and Coach, we just heard from Jamir Harris. Let's talk a little bit about how he got here from your perspective, when he sort of got on your radar, and then actually getting him here to the Eagles program.
Yeah, well, we knew about him coming out of high school. I went to high school with his dad, so I was sort of, he's especially on my radar, at an early age. But he was being recruited really heavily, early on. Like, he was a really good player as a freshman and sophomore, in addition to being a great player as a junior and senior. So a lot of schools were involved. So I knew it wasn't going to happen for us coming out of high school for him. But when he decided that he did want to transfer, he sort of mentioned to his dad, us, as a possibility. I think they wanted a really good academic school, and they wanted to get a little closer to home. So his dad reached out, and I told him, absolutely, we're interested. And it wasn't just the type of player. I'd seen him, in high school and followed him at Minnesota a little bit. But I knew, knowing the dad so well, knowing the family so well, he's the type of kid that you want in your program. He's obviously a terrific player, but he's an even better kid, and we want as many guys like that in the program as possible. Absolutely. And next up for him and next up for you guys is Howard, home date here at Bender Arena. And you look at Howard, and they're coming off a pretty good season. However, they really have a new look. They had a couple guys transfer away. They have a new coach in Kenny Blakeney after Kevin Nickelberry resigned after last year. What are you seeing from the Bison? Christian Williams has had a terrific career for them, and he's a scorer, a shooter, and he's a really good kid. I've followed him. He was at our camp coming out of high school. at recruiting camp. So, I liked him then, and I, gotten to sort of watch him from afar, and I see what kind of kid he is too. And anytime you got guys like that in your program, they're going to do well, and they're going to make your team do well. Obviously, with Coach Blakeney there, with the pedigree that he has, he'll have them prepared, defensively, and they got a lot of offensive weapons as well. So, watching them, there's a lot of different looks, but they play you hard, they play the ball hard, they spread you out. A lot of times they have a lot of perimeter guys out there, almost 5 out on the perimeter, which will be a challenge for us.
What are some of the things that you've seen? Obviously it's a small sample size, but with them, you mentioned Blakeney's pedigree, having played at Duke, so obviously he's around Coach K, has a little Tommy Amaker in him as well, and what he brings.
Yeah, I mean, watching the defense, they do a lot of different things, but it's always they're always playing hard, So regardless of what they do, they're going to test you every single time down the court on offense. They're going to make you work for everything you get, whether in their zone or a man or switching or trapping, whatever it may be. And I think they have a versatile group too. So they got a lot of wings that can, switch a lot of screens and do a lot of different things. Big guys that can guard little guys and vice versa. So it's going to be a challenge.
Indeed, and we'll see how that challenge pans out as the Eagles entertain the Bison here at Bender Arena coming up on Tuesday at 7 o'clock. We hope you'll make plans to come on out. You can also catch the game on the PLN on Stadium, and you can log on to aueagles.com, pick up your tickets that way. And for more, be sure and check out all the social media platforms. For Coach, I'm Dan. We'll see you next time.